Welcome back to A Corporate Time. Moe DeWitt's here. How you doing, Mo?
Doing all right. How you guys doing?
Great. Injured on the go. Just call Mo, of course.
That's the slogan?
Did you
Just come up with that? I like that.
It scared me. I was like,
he changed it.
I was like,
You didn't get the memo, Tom. Come on.
oh my God.
And then I slid up a little bit of like.
And there's no more axe
It was
throwing
like-
at Hourglass.
It was like da, 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 Mo, and you're like terrified. What is the new slogan?
We'll think of it later.
Oh,
Well,
wow, I like that.
okay, this kind
So
of
2019, the injured on the go, just call Mo.
now we've got some listener questions today, but this kind of goes into a question that I saw on the BDM page because it goes into you can't know everything that's going on at all times, right?
No,
and
it's
there's
impossible.
And with life and if some people have kids and stuff, there's too much stuff, right? So you can't keep up with everything. I saw a question on the BDM page, and this is a twofold question because I'm curious about the first one. But a BDM
Labia majora and labia minora, twofold.
a BDM got hit by a bicyclist, and then the cops were like, there's no way to prove whose fault this was, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Anyway, so my first question is, if a bicyclist hits you, does his insurance, or what kind of insurance does he have to have
Do you
for it
even-
to cover?
Yeah, that's
like,
a good question.
You know, a bike could cause some damage to your car, scratch up something, like knock off your rearview mirror, you know, like, and so what insurance would cover that?
Typically, there isn't any insurance for that. But if you're on a bike and you get hit by a car, if that car doesn't have insurance, your uninsured motorist coverage, even though you're not in a car, will cover you. So there's kind of little caveats here and there. So, I mean, typically if you're on a bike and you hit somebody or something, hopefully it's not going to be catastrophic damage. You know, it may dent up the car, it may take the rear view mirror off, like you say, but hopefully it's not going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. In the reverse, if you're on a bike and get hit by a car, there you could have a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So that's
Gotcha.
where your uninsured motorist coverage could kick in and cover you. Or even if you're just walking or standing on a sidewalk, you can still have your uninsured motorist coverage cover you if a car hits you.
Well, our
Gotcha.
comedian this week, Ryan Hamilton.
Yeah.
Hit by a bus.
He
Hit by
was
a
hit by a
bus.
bus. I mean, we're talking multiple surgeries, and I think he had a collapsed lung and
Yes.
almost didn't make it. And so, yeah, that can get real bad.
And like the city, okay, let's talk about that. Like with Ryan Hamilton's case, like you get hit by like let's say a city bus, right? And so I know it's hard to sue the city.
Immediately, I'm thinking they're going to take care of me and I'm going to be rich, but that's wrong, right?
No, you get rich
Very
when
wrong.
Walmart hits you. You know, like that
The
giant
government ain't
So
trying to
you
pay
want,
you.
yeah, Amazon truck hits you, you're good.
So
Yeah.
you want
The
corporations,
city of Castleberry
not
got no money.
government. All right.
Yeah, the government, they
Go
are
to the water
horrible with
tower.
money.
A little
Yeah.
stingy.
Gotcha.
So anyway, but yeah, let's say a city bus hits you, then can you go after and sue the city? Or how does that work?
Yeah, you can. I mean, they're just like anybody else, any operator of a vehicle. The difference is they're limited by what we call sovereign immunity. So basically, right now at least, you can only sue them for $200,000 per person or $300,000 per accident. It's capped by statute. You can't get any more than that. They just tried recently to raise that in the legislature this past session, but it didn't pass. So right now it's still limited to the 200, 300.
Well, that's nothing, Mo. I mean, this guy,
that is-
Ryan Hamilton, almost died. He collapsed
Yeah.
lung with
Yeah.
like compound fracture, like for sure.
He's still
his
recovering,
his
like
hospital
now.
bills were more than $300,000.
I would imagine millions, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had a case where an animal control officer was texting and driving with one of those big animal control trucks and just ran over this lady in her car.
Oh, my
And
God.
she had
You
to be
should have seen the
airlifted,
size
she
of
had
this raccoon.
spinal surgery, all this kind of stuff. And, unfortunately, she was limited to sovereign immunity, which was kind of funny because she talked to another attorney who was like, oh, yeah, we can get you millions. I was like, really? How? And he's like, I don't know. We just can. I was like, have you heard of sovereign immunity?
Hold on, I know that
Because what's
attorney.
that?
It's Attorney Tom. I've met this attorney. He sits across from me daily. The guy who says, "Oh, I don't know how I do it, but I
Yeah.
definitely can do it."
He was just
I'm
trying to
that
tell her
guy.
what you wanted to hear, unfortunately.
Oh, I love that.
It's good business
You
practice.
do that all the time.
People are always happier when they hear what they want to hear, right?
Write that down, Sam. Write down.
Jesus.
Tell them what they want to
But
hear.
the second part of this question is the guy also found out that he wasn't insured himself. himself, and
Okay.
then said that his like insurance agency never contacted him to let him know that they dropped him.
Wait a minute, we had that where they were like, it's still active, but you guys, I don't know what's happening with it.
And he was like, I didn't know. I know it's on me. You know, I should have checked on that. But who checks to see if their insurance is still good?
Every morning when I wake up, first thing I do is check my insurance.
I mean,
Your car insurance?
yeah.
Don't you pay for it monthly?
Well, he said, but he's on auto pay, like, and he doesn't check every. Like, I don't check my bank statements.
I
every
haven't
month.
looked at my bank account, like, honestly, because Andrea won't let me. But like for bills and stuff like that, I mean, there's thousands of transactions a year that happen. I couldn't even get in there.
I have no idea
I
what.
check my bank account at least once a week.
No. I let Andrea handle all that. I don't know.
I would have no clue what I'm paying or not paying.
Yeah.
Like, and I think a lot of people just never
Like
check
if
it.
Andrea
It's on auto
died
pay.
today. I don't know how to get my money. I wouldn't know what I start crying. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know how to start.
You'd have to give up. That'd be
That's
the only
what I
way.
would want to do.
Yeah.
I want to do that now, but she's not dead yet.
So, do they have any obligation to notify you? You know, like there's some rules about.
You got to
like,
put it in the newspaper for one day. You got to put it out there. Hey, Dad
Check
doesn't
those
have car
newspapers.
insurance.
Yep. Depending on the type of health or type of insurance, yes, they have to notify you in a certain manner. Car insurance has to send you a letter to the last known address. It's all spelled out in the statute. And there was actually a case recently where they sent the drop letter to his mother instead of him, and he tried to dispute it, saying, well, you sent it to the wrong address, so I should still have coverage. And the court said, no, the last known address was your mother's address, so you're an idiot.
The old wrong address
Yeah.
thing. You got out of a court case doing the old
No,
wrong address.
don't talk about
They
it.
sent it to your sister
I almost-
instead of you, and you were like, she's on the hook. Take her to jail, not me. I'll do whatever it takes to keep me out of jail. I got to see my family, my boys.
Here we can talk about it.
Did I get you
No, there's a perjury involved. So anyway, don't listen to that, Mo. But
Didn't hear a thing.
don't they? I mean, should update to the 2022 and send someone a text like a letter?
that, yeah.
What is this? The 1900s?
You know, Sam made a good point. This morning, if I get a pulled pork sub from Publix, if they don't have the pulled pork, they'll call me.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
will
text you,
call me
yeah.
and be like, sir, we don't
Yeah.
have your pork and onions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, wait a damn minute.
Like everything's through text now. Like
Yeah.
update the law. Like if your insurance
Yeah,
agency
truly
drops
text
you.
me when my order's ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they should text the person and be like, you have no insurance right now.
And sometimes I
And you're
get
driving,
so
you're like,
high,
oh.
I text Truly, and I'm like, thank you.
Although I did order $40 worth of Mexican pizzas on the Taco Bell app the other day.
Yeah.
Showed up at the store to pick them up. Sold out. Okay, can you refund me? Nope. Got to go through the app. No way to refund on that. We're going to sue those bastards.
Let's get them, Mo. You know,
I put in a mobile order to Boston Market a couple months ago, and they said, "Hey, your order's ready." Went there, the whole store wasn't even open.
Yeah.
Actually,
That happens on
Yeah.
That was a
Uber
ghost.
Eats.
Yeah.
Boston Market been closed for 5 years.
Yeah.
That was a ghost.
There's a lot of stuff like that
Yeah.
happening because the apps aren't 100%,
No.
and they're like, "Oh, we didn't account for store closures."
Boston Market is one of the
How's
worst.
my order ready?
Andrea went to Boston Market because apparently Sam and I are old. We love that Boston
love that
Market.
rotini mac and cheese.
I love it. It's creamy.
It is.
So we went up there to get our creamy rotini, right? And Andrea's like, "Are they open? Are they open?" And we drove around. We did the
Oh.
circle. You got to do the circle.
Yep.
And we did the circle. And I'm like, "Well, there's tons of people in there. They're open. Look at them back there. They're cutting the meatloaf. They get to see the chickens in their turn." I'm like, "They're open." We get up there. We're waiting. Nobody's saying anything. We finally pull up to the window. They see us. They open the window. They're like, "We're just training and pretending that this was a day. We're training people." Like, and I'm like, "Pretending? Why don't you pretend some of that creamy rotini in this car right
Yeah.
now?"
You're making food. Give it to
Yeah,
me.
Boston Market, they're hurting.
Bad
They
shape.
are hurting.
Oh, yeah.
You know what?
Also, and I never thought of like who makes the best mediocre vegetables in Turkey.
Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
Boston.
They are the center of the universe when it comes to prepackaged green beans. It's all Boston.
So,
So,
Boston.
Sam,
Yeah.
I know we got some listener questions.
Yeah, we had some from last time
let's
that
do
we
it.
didn't get to. Let me pull that up.
Well, normally we don't get to them because we go all over the place and we act silly.
Oh.
So today we're going to be a little bit more serious.
One last question I did see.
There we go.
A
Off
BDM
the rails.
and you are always good, Mo, and you actually commented on these posts on the BDM page. But this BDM said that they crashed their truck into the woods which definitely means they were
On
drunk.
brand. On brand. That's our guy. Those are our guys. The woods crashers.
So they crashed the truck into the woods, and they said that no other car was involved, and he got hurt. And he wanted to know if he could use his personal health insurance or if he had to go through his car insurance since he was in his car when he crashed. And what do you say, Mo?
So typically in any auto accident case, this case or any other, you can go through your health insurance. There's nothing wrong with that. For some reason, people think if you're in a car accident, you can't use your health
That
insurance.
was on cue.
Yeah, it was. Oh my
Man,
God.
you got the juice.
Trying.
My instinct was to chase that, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
I was like,
Chase it down.
I was like, that's where the money's at.
What's happening?
And I do the two arm.
I almost took off running.
I do a 2-arm terrier run, like little dogs. Like, yeah. I run like a pig. Pigs always run with a double front leg. Double front leg
at
push.
the same time.
Yeah.
Is that a gallop?
And
What
you
is that?
fly. You do front
Sorry.
back, front back, front back, front back, and you fly.
So for some reason, people think you can't use your health insurance if you're in a car accident. You absolutely can. A lot of doctors just don't want to treat you if you're in a car accident because they don't want to deal with that.
Gross.
So like your primary care physicians, a lot of those people will not treat you for car accidents. You have to go to someone who treats those kind of accidents. But then if you receive a settlement from your car accident, the health insurance company will have a lien on the settlement. You have to negotiate that settlement to get them paid off or to get the lien waived or something like that.
So even if you're there in their office, you're like, ah! And then he's like, oh, cars. And he just walks.
touch him, don't touch
He
him.
just walks
You
out.
disgusted me. Step around him.
So, all right, Sam, what are some of the
All right,
questions
let
we
me
got?
pull this
Sorry.
back up.
She's on the Boston market. She's ordering a Boston. I see it.
I got the
see
creamy
your
rotini.
online.
It's in queue. Is there any way around paying a pass-through tax on a mobile home in a park owned by a billion-dollar company?
Now that sounds like you're throwing
what?
shade. Mobile home on brand. That's our guy. Crashed the truck into the woods.
What, Mo, are you asking complicated mobile home law questions?
Can I lift my mobile home with a helicopter to a new pad?
What the hell kind
I
of
don't
question
know.
is that?
I
would
don't know.
need
I'm
some
just
more
reading the
details on that
questions.
one.
Pass-through insurance? Oh,
Pass-through tax on a mobile home
What is- that's-
in a park owned by a billion-dollar company.
I'm guessing maybe they're charging some sort of tax on the lot rental or something that they're asking.
I
Or like a
don't know.
Maybe the property tax. Yeah, sometimes if there's a property and you're
Right.
leasing the property, they'll give you your portion of the property tax. That's just part of your lease.
I don't think Mo knew he's going to come in here and we're going to handle squatters law. You know, like.
We got another trailer park question.
Oh my God!
Hold on. Also,
Are all of these from Castleberry? What's happening?
why do people sue? Like, I don't know if people need to hear this or not, but billion-dollar companies are more greedy.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like, it's not like they accumulated $1 billion. They're like, we don't need that much anymore.
Right.
Like, we're fine now. Like,
Give a bit back.
The bigger the company, the more they'll nickel and dime charge you for everything. Like, it's a mom and pop small company.
Yes.
That's where you have leverage at. Like,
Indeed.
they may use emotion to be like, you're fine. You
They're
know,
more like you.
Yeah. A giant corporation will not use any emotion. It's all
less.
about the bottom line. Anyway.
How is it not discrimination by age for a trailer park to be 55 and up? So like the 55 and up communities.
What I'm hearing in this one is you're mad because you found a house that you could move into right now when it's hard to find houses, but then they threw that
Yep.
stipulation at you and said, no, you got to be old. Kind of like my mom's place is kind of getting like that. You know, my mom's beach place that I'm
Yeah.
finalizing
But there's no
selling.
rule.
There's no
Yeah.
real rule, but
Right.
I almost feel like they're going to vote on it. Like, I feel like they're going to get to a point where they're like, hey, you guys want to just make this an old folks home? Let's do it.
Yeah. I've always wondered, how they could just be like only 55 up.
I mean, if you've had hard living and you know how to be like and how to look a little bit older, they're never going to say a thing.
you couldn't do the opposite. You couldn't do like under 25 only, right? Like,
I do have a
or
parties.
like by any other thing, like gender or race or
Yeah,
religion.
right.
Like the parties we have here, you and I've been having, are
It is odd.
girls only, and
that seems fine. I thought that was legal.
Girls free, guys is $100
Oh.
cover.
Ladies' night.
What do you say?
There's a whole line of case law on that. It was upheld that it's legal. I read it in law school a million years ago. I don't remember what the rationale is, but I think the intent is basically, you're not discriminating based on age. You're basically offering kind of a safe haven based on
Right.
age. So it's not discrimination is not the intent.
All
when
in
you're
how you
using
look
the
at
55 and up. But I know there's a whole bunch of case law. I think a lot of it deals with the Aberdeen communities down in South Florida. But they ultimately upheld the 55 and up community. I just can't remember the rationale behind it.
And
Dude, I got 9 years and I'm there.
All right.
wow.
Only 9 years.
Wait, what if your wife's not 55?
Well, I don't want her there.
Oh, okay.
I want to.
Gotcha.
I want my own little sweet little
Gotcha.
55. You know.
That's a good point. Like,
awesome.
I wonder if like
Do both people have to be 55 and up?
Or-
Or just who's on the lease?
or
It's
like
just like buying beer with your wife in tow. You got to get her ID out too. We
Right,
learned that a couple
yeah.
weeks ago. You know.
because like what if like your grandpa bought in the place, but like he brought his teen grandkids that were like 19 and like 17. You know, like no one's a
Oh,
punk.
they're gonna be miserable. Those 19-year-olds.
Yeah, usually it says they can stay there for like 30 days and they have to leave for 30 days. Or there's usually a provision that says how long they can visit for.
Or they do that move where they just walk out of the house for 6 hours and it resets.
I went up and I used
Like
the
the
Wi-Fi
bars.
at Panera for 4 hours.
It's like at 2 a.m. you guys have to leave the bar, but then you can all come back, and then technically we pull the bottles out of the
Yeah.
coolers, and they're your own property, whatever that.
Yeah. I've
I
done
love
that a couple
loopholes.
times, yeah.
I love law loopholes. Anyway, what's the next one?
Last one is, how can a music artist take a sampling from non-royalty music and then copyright claim anyone who uses the original non-royalty song?
Thanks for giving me the easy one today.
Wait, I'm trying to figure this one out.
Listen,
So what is it now? So how does an artist take a royalty-free
Sample.
Sample from non-royalty music and then copyright
You can't.
claim anyone who uses the original non-royalty song. Yeah, that doesn't make
Why?
sense to
Okay,
me.
so
You'd
what
have to
I'm hearing.
transform it enough to copyright it. Otherwise, it would just be like
Right.
a copyright troll who's basically taking a nonsense copyright. I was going to curse there, so I stopped myself. Nonsense copyright, and then it's just a copyright troll, and they try to sue anyone who uses it afterwards, even though their copyright probably wouldn't be upheld if you challenged
Right.
it.
Yeah, it also sounds like in this, I may be not understanding you properly, but it sounds like they want to, like, I found some royalty-free music that I'm going to use, and now I want to copyright that music because I'm using it. It's like, no,
that I'm sampling it in my
that's
song.
not
No,
the
that-
way it
that
works.
doesn't work.
You
Yeah.
got to
Right.
be creative. Step one is to be creative, and once you've created something,
Right.
then you have something to copyright, right?
Yeah, if you transform the sample somehow to, it includes that sample, but it's a whole new song,
Yeah.
it's a whole new something, then you would have some intellectual property there. But just taking someone else's sample, putting it on your music, and now claiming it's your intellectual property,
That's lazy.
that doesn't work.
Yeah, I'd like to meet this person and tell them they're stupid.
So Mo, I got a question for you. So this involves me over the weekend, and we're
What'd
going.
you gamble on?
No,
No,
not that.
no.
Well,
Is this
I
another-
do gamble.
Did you move into a single wide? What
No,
happened?
no. And we'll go into it more and more of the story on the BDM show. But
Oh, that means it's bad. All right.
I went tubing over the weekend. I
Okay.
took my mom,
What
my
does that mean?
sister,
Only
the
fat
kids.
chicks?
No, tubing where you pull.
Don't laugh
shouldn't
at
laugh
that.
at
You'll
that.
get
No.
implicated.
Shouldn't laugh
Let
at
me take the smoke.
Edit that out, please.
Yeah, you got to let me take the smoke.
You pull a tube behind my boat, right? And so
We're familiar with tubing.
I was just explaining. Maybe someone else. So
Is there a rope attached? How's it work?
there's a rope.
No, Bluetooth.
Oh, it's Bluetooth.
Yeah,
that
it's
makes
a
more
Bluetooth
sense. yeah.
rope.
So I was pulling my sister, and my sister, like I was pulling the kids, we're going slow, and then all of a sudden my sister said, pull me fast. I want to see how fast I can, like,
Paint me like one of your French girls.
whip me around or whatever. And then so she gets on the tube, and then I start, hauling ass, right? And then she keeps giving the faster thumbs up, right? And then I was like, well, I think I'm going dangerously
Yeah.
fast.
What do you do, like 60?
And then no, like it just seems like whoa, like she shouldn't be.
Are you taking her into the corners and give her to the full ragdoll?
Well, so then
Because
she-
there are rednecks that used to whip me until
Yeah.
they'd whip my tiny little pair of shorts off, and then I'm laying there with a concussion
Yeah.
and
I
no
almost got
pants
whipped
on.
into a dock.
yeah.
Oh my
That's-
God.
I've
I'll
seen
never
it.
go tubing again.
I've seen it on all the Instagram boating fail pages. Anyway, so then my sister's like, she's giving me the signal, like, whip me outside. And then my wife's yelling at me, like, get her outside the waves.
It's cash me outside.
And then, so I'm, S-turning, like, then I get to a point where I'm like, what, I'm just going to whip her.
Give her
Like,
the full whip. I'll give her the top fire.
so I jerk the wheel, and then I start whipping her outside, and she, like,
I like the move where you don't even touch the water, where you're literally the
Flying.
rope is fully tight, and you're inches above the water, but you're just being held above the water with just the tension of the rope.
Yeah.
And my sister isn't young anymore. You know, she's
Hey, this
she's
is a lady that
36.
helped us with our ART&D. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
instrumental of putting.
Wait a minute, I'm 36.
Well, I was going to say she's a van though, and she has ultimate
Hard
confidence.
living.
Hard living.
Well, no, not even hard living, but she has ultimate confidence, and she thinks she's like, it doesn't matter. Like,
Well, she's more flexible than you are.
So anyway, it did dawn on me. I was like, what if? I mean, then because tubing's dangerous, and if she flew off, she didn't luckily, but if she did, and then starts ragdoll cartwheeling across the water,
You can break your arms and legs, and drown, and
I mean, she
you
could
can blow
be
your eyeballs out.
on disability. I mean, there could have been where she hurts her back or her organs or something to the point where she can't
You're
work
in a
anymore.
wheelchair. Why are you in a wheelchair? I went tubing.
And then I was like, well, could she sue me? Like if she
and she would too.
You know, she works for an insurance company, so I'm sure like their insurance will be like, well, how'd you get injured? Well, like my brother was whipping me crazy in this tube, and they're like, well, that's negligent, and I'm gonna sue him. I've got boating insurance through Blanchard, so I'm gonna sue his boating insurance, his homeowners insurance.
Oh, get you good.
Every insurance to try to get as most money as possible.
Would she come after the company? Could she come after this company, or am I
You're
safe?
good.
The company. I put the boat into the company.
I
name.
figured
That's a write-off. It's a write-off.
I do it. I see the flag in the back. It's like, ask me about watering holes. I'm like, you mother.
I have to put on the mailbox letters, tomandan.com.
He's always
and then
got
you can
that.
write off anything.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Making your son walk up and down the beach with flyers for our podcast just so you can write off your boat.
As long
It's
as you
embarrassing.
put mailbox letters, your website on anything, you write it off. Anyway, so could she sue me?
Yeah, and that may be a situation. Every once in a while, you hear these stories where like a family member suing another family member, but it's really they're suing the insurance, right? Because she would have to name you as the party in the lawsuit to get to your insurance. So if the insurance company is denying the claim or not paying fair compensation, then she would have to technically sue you, but really she would be going after your insurance to try to get them to pay out.
Could they prove that it was negligent whipping her around on a tube? Like what?
Well,
that's
I got
what you're
video
supposed
of
to
you.
do.
I got video
What's
of you.
the right way to do it?
And he's
Not
double
injure people.
fisting. Now,
It's almost impossible, Mo.
what if there was video of it and he's he's holding up his lime White Claw?
No.
He's giving a hootie hoo to the sky.
No, I mean there's pictures, but you have to get into my wife's phone.
Oh, I'm in there. I've been in there. Not for those photos.
Yeah,
but,
I think she posted it on my Facebook. So
Yeah,
you
she
see
did.
it, like,
There
there
you
it
go.
is.
There's
It's
a
couple
couple of airboat. I said airboat, but I meant airborne photos.
Anyway, the overall, I guess, message we're trying to put out here is if you're injured, call Mo. He'll let you know what your rights are, what you should do.
Just call Mo. He'll let you know.
Yeah. Don't wait too long because then it complicates things.
Don't be slow.
Yeah. Mo, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. Again, justcallmo.com is the website. The DeWitt Law Firm. We'll be right back. Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha, our producer's here. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
Is that a new semantic shirt? I've never seen the tie-dye.
It's not new. I just stole it from my husband's closet.
You've been doing that a lot lately. Okay, so if you're following along at home,
Yeah.
you've stolen this shirt. You stole
Tampa Bay Lightning
Tampa Bay
shirt,
Lightning, and
yeah.
then one other one.
I'm sure
You've
I
been
did.
stealing his
Yeah.
clothing. You know what? I haven't seen him in a minute. Is he alive?
No comment.
All right. We have a guest here who is certainly alive, and it's very good to see this person because I feel like we haven't seen him in years. But it's been about a year probably because when we fringe, typically the number one person we go to fringe with would be our friend Michael Wanzie, and he is here to talk about the second part of your is this Sam and I were a little confused. Is this the first time that you've done a one-man show? And I was
is.
like, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we were like, that can't be right because...
In Wanzie with a Z, which was my life story done a few years ago, there were 3 actors, of which I was one, and 2 other actors playing me at younger ages.
But this one, now this is part 2. It's Wanzie with a Z, part 2, the Rave years. You can see it at the Silver Venue. It's $15, and the 25th, 28th, 29th. 8:15, 6:45, and 12:15 p.m. That would be the matinee. I urge everybody to go out and see it. This one is the one I want to see because it has Ecstasy.
That's correct.
And I love ecstasy.
Yeah, so do I. And it's just a big commercial to try and convince everyone else that they're wrong not to love ecstasy.
Tom, you've never done ecstasy.
I haven't.
Sam,
I've
never
I've
done
never
ecstasy.
done it. Always wanted
It's
to.
just
Yep.
you and I, buddy.
Well, I can't tell you. I'm getting emails from like 60-year-old people saying, "Can you hook me up?" After the show, honestly.
It's the
You
best
wanna-
brand named drug.
It is.
Okay, because,
yeah.
yeah. Like I figure all
Weed. That sounds disgusting, right? Weed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Weeds are notoriously bad.
heroin sounds
Bad.
like
Yeah.
Or a female hero, which there's no such thing. No such thing. Take that.
It's like we're gonna name this drug ecstasy. It's like, well, goddamn, I like.
And I will
Doesn't get
say,
better than that.
the first time I took ecstasy, look, I'm not trying to get people to do drugs, but I took ecstasy, and I'm just going to be honest with you and say that it was great, felt great.
So yeah, this show is all about my late life discovery of ecstasy because I was in my 40s before I did my
Really?
first hit. Yeah, and
way.
I haven't stopped since. And now I'm 65, and I'm the oldest guy on the dance floor, but I'm at
Hey.
every rave I can get to.
All right. It's funny, too, because there was a documentary, I want to say like 10 or 15 years ago, about how ecstasy was becoming more popular with a more mature age group. Not necessarily old, because I wouldn't even classify you as old or me as old, but with people that are not kids. You know, when you think
Correct.
drugs, you think 18 to 21 or, 16 to 25, right?
Yeah.
But there was a documentary, and I can't remember what it was, but they were talking about how it's very popular within like
It's-
a more mature community.
It was a Peter Jennings special on ecstasy, and we have clips from the show video in my show.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. It was a sort of a tutorial at the beginning for people who have no touchstone to what this is about. We do some video first from the Phil Donahue show and the Peter Jennings report and whatnot to kind of give you a primer before I come on stage with a live portion, which is about an hour long. And every story I tell is word for word, absolutely true, involves all local happenings, and I name names.
All right.
That's awesome.
Let's talk raves for a second, Wanzie. Because
I've never been to one. You ever been to a rave?
Not really.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever been to one where somebody would class. I've been to parties where
Yeah.
dance music's on, but I want to go to like a rave where people like, yeah, this is
Lock you in a
right.
warehouse.
categorically
Like-
it is a rave.
so like music festivals, electric daisy carnival type deals.
I wouldn't have even thought you knew the name of that. I'm very proud of you.
I feel like you need the aid of ecstasy to make these particular events worth it, right? Because without ecstasy, it feels to me like you're not getting the full experience or you're not doing it right. Like if you're just sober at a rave, it feels like 90% of why you're there is taken away.
I've always
Right?
thought that. Lo, how did you
Or
get
is that
into it?
wrong?
Does that spoil
Tom,
anything?
for someone who hasn't done it, you certainly have a good understanding.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're just standing there, looking around. Everybody's like, grinding their teeth with his shirt off, and like I feel they're
Why do
rubbing
you
their
grabbing your nipples?
Well, that's what I imagine doing. You know, and then it's
One of the things I say in the show is about how when you're at a rave and you're on ecstasy, you look around you and all you see is fine-looking people experiencing the joy of dance, and that's what they see in you. But when you choose to do ecstasy in a situation where most other people are not doing it, that's not what they see in you. Apparently, what they see in you is very different and evidently quite disturbing.
well, I was going to ask you because
Okay. You know what? You explained that, perfectly. If that gives us just a little microcosm of what we can expect when we see the show,
Exactly.
I think that
Yeah.
this is going to be great.
well, it's like because other drugs they have their stereotypes. Like so, let's say this kind of leads me into my other question about ecstasy. So like let's say weed, right? Like there's certain stereotypes about weed and like the perfect place to be high or like what stoners do. or
Normally it's
whatever.
the beach, right?
You know, it's like I guess you're out in nature or whatever, and you're stoned or whatever. But really, I'm trying to think of other like places to be high in the movies or whatever. Like
Jury
Anywhere.
duty.
Theme park.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like you could be high
park's
on
a good one.
THC. Like
Ride
your
that
kids,
Guardians ride when you're high.
your kids play morning, like anywhere. Like it enhances everything, right? Or it makes every situation
Yes.
better, in my opinion. Does that work with ecstasy? Because stereotypically, it's primarily been hey, you're going to like
Recreational.
EDC or
Yeah.
like a rave or something, and that's where people do ecstasy. I never really hear like people doing ecstasy when they're at the fair or like
Right.
Oh, no.
other places.
Well, are you aware that there were raves every year inside Disney theme parks?
No,
No.
actual raves.
I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Yeah. So you
Like-
need to come see the show.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Interesting.
actually, when all the
Oh,
when
Sam's
all,
light bulbs are going. You're about
Yeah.
to
I'm
blow,
ready to go.
You're about to blow your afro
when
poofs out.
all these Christian organizations who are homophobic were trying to get people like to boycott Disney because of gay days and whatnot, and they would show footage of people going crazy. But what they wouldn't tell you is that was after hours, after the park was closed to the general public, at a private ticketed event being put on by a party producer specifically geared toward the ecstasy-taking crowd. So One Mighty Party happened every year at Disney MGM Studios. I do a whole section on that party. And when you take ecstasy, your entire body experiences what's called enhanced sensory perception. So when you plunge down the Tower of Terror or go through the black light effects on Rock and Roller Coaster, while you're actually rolling, it is a effing mind F.
yeah. It's like it just your
Yes.
it like enhances all your senses,
Yes.
right? And that's why people want massages.
Correct.
And things like that.
Everything feels better. It gives you the opportunity to focus on any one thing. And we just don't realize in our daily life. I mean, we can't. There's nothing. You can't even drive. You're seeing advertisements on cars, trucks,
Bombarded,
billboards. You've got the radio on, everything. Ecstasy allows you to clear your mind and then focus on only one thing. So, besides the fact that it elevates your serotonin levels, so touch feels better. But you then, if someone is like massaging you, you have this ability on ecstasy to block out everything else, and for the first time in your effing life, concentrate on just one thing. How does this massage feel?
You need
And
ecstasy.
Tom needs it.
Yeah.
He needs it medically.
And the same reason for the music. It sounds. It's almost like the music is emanating from inside you, and it's like impossible not to get up and dance because you're so moved by everything.
You've heard me talk about the story of me being on ecstasy, and you guys all make fun of it, but how I sat in front of my stereo and I listened to Depeche Mode's Violator album.
And you heard things you never heard before.
Yep. He obviously, this man knows his ecstasy because I sat there and analyzed the synthetic bass line that whomever he was playing with his left hand on the keyboard, and I played the one song probably for an hour, just basically figuring out how it was done, how it was layered, and it allowed me. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I have a friend who I get together with on a regular basis, all by ourselves, just the two of us. We do a hit of ecstasy, and we each have our playlist of things that we want to share with the other. And you listen to a song that you have heard and sung along to unconsciously while you're driving all your life. And suddenly, for the first time, you understand what the lyrics mean. And suddenly, you're listening to a symphonic piece, and you can pick out the piccolo and go, "Oh my God, that piccolo!" And it's just nuts. It's just, and we can spend an entire 4, 5, 6 hour roll doing nothing but sitting there
Sounds
listening
great.
to music. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: is I'm not going to say it was bad because I haven't experienced a bad version of that. What I didn't like, if we're just being real about it, though, I didn't like buying it from the drug dealer guy. I didn't
Right.
like
Right.
having him test
Could
it
be
in
laced
front
with
of
something,
me.
yeah.
I'm like, test that in front of me, and he sure enough,
Right.
he had some kid. Here's the funny thing: he had a kid. He said, "I'll test it in front of you." I didn't know what he was testing or what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh yeah,
It could have
turning
been
blood,
positive
okay.
for
Yeah.
heroin.
Yeah,
I don't know.
what he's going to put a dab of Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing." But my
Right.
point is that part is the part I dislike. The
Well,
drugs,
well,
I
that
like.
you can thank the government for. MDMA, which is the actual name of the drug,
Sure.
is MDMA, was completely legal, and people were doing it and without any problem. And then the Reagans got into office and decided they were going to launch their Just Say No drug campaign, and it's been discovered now, and this is absolutely true. They paid doctors as much as $500,000 to lie about the effects of ecstasy and the damage that it does to your spine and your brain. All of it completely made up, completely true.
I remember the spinal
And-
thing. Yeah,
and
don't do a
so-
lot of ecstasy. Your spine will turn
Right,
to
yeah,
juice. It'll
right,
turn to liquid.
exactly.
Liquefy
Oh, I
your
remember the
spine.
brain
Craziness
thing.
like that. None of it's true.
Like holes in
Absolutely
your
none of
brain.
it's true. It is probably the most innocuous drug you can take. The worst thing you can say about ecstasy is that for most people it induces the unconscious grinding of your teeth. So you suck on something or you chew gum or something to keep from grinding your teeth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Well, here's how you know it's safe: is they use it to treat people with PTSD and like
Yes.
it's like they're using it medically to treat people that are having problems in like small doses or whatever it is. So it's like it can't be that dangerous.
In the UK, they prescribe it to people who are going through divorce counseling, marriage counseling, because MDMA, it's like almost impossible to lie when you're on MDMA.
Oh, truth
and
serum.
it breaks
Well,
down.
that's what the counselors were using it for.
It
that.
breaks down your defenses and makes you be open and receptive to things that you don't block anything out, and they find it useful for getting people to come to terms with each other. It's like it's almost all positives and very little negatives.
And I think they actually did use the term truth serum when maybe they did test in the military because it's been around for
Yeah.
a very long
Some
time.
people believe that the genesis of it is when Germany was trying to develop a truth serum in World War II. Whether or not that's verifiable or not, I don't know, but that's one of the beliefs.
Interesting. Like, how did you...
Nazis made ecstasy. That's what I heard.
It's the only good thing they did. When you think back to like all the stories that obviously are in Wanzie with a Z Part 2, the Rave years, that I urge all of you to go and see, do you cover how you discovered it for the first time? Is that something you handle, or is that something you can talk about here? I just don't want to
Spoil the show.
No.
Spoil the show.
I talk about. I described the very instance where I did it for the first time and what.
Oh, that's
under
awesome.
what?
Yeah, because mine
Yeah.
is, unfortunately, I was walking my dog. I had a Dalmatian at the time. We took a lot of dog walks that night.
Uh-huh.
So much, in fact, that his pads got very
Oh, my
raw,
God.
and I felt like a guilty owner. But yeah, I remember when I did it for the first time. Like, I remember doing it, and I remember like doing it with other people, and I remember it was like almost like a like, hey, we're going, like we were preparing.
Yes.
Like, you get your snacks and we're gonna do it.
Well,
we're gonna.
I had a group of professional friends who couldn't be seen out rolling at
Sure.
local clubs and stuff. So we started doing house parties, which we started calling Midnight Teddy Bear Picnics. And we had a
love that.
toy box. I tell the story in the show. And everyone contributed items to the toy box so that we had lasers and black lights and star projectors and everything. And everyone took turns hosting house parties, and you pass the toy box around to create a little rave situation in the home. But and back then there were clubs like Heaven, you remember, and various places where you could go after hours,
Sure.
and it was specifically for that. And remember, Orange County came out with the no dancing after 2 ordinance to try and crack down on the
Footloose?
ecstasy.
Really?
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
Oh,
it was crazy.
They no dancing.
No dancing. They actually passed an ordinance that there could be no
Footloose
When was
dancing.
that? What year was that?
Oh God, I can't exactly
But
remember.
yeah, this isn't
But
the first.
yeah.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah, but every year for Gay Days, which happens around the first weekend in June every year, party producers from all over the country come here and rent facilities and put on raves, and people come from around the world. It's called the circuit. There are very affluent gay people who travel the circuit and go from city to city and country to country attending raves, and they all come here in June.
So what do you need for a good rave, Wanzie? Because I've never been to a rave.
Maybe we
The
should
Rave
do
Essentials?
Maybe we should do a Tom and Dan rave this year.
Yes, please.
do a BDM
and let me
rave.
be the consultant.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what we're doing. We're gonna need one,
Okay,
but
so-
it sounds fun as hell.
So this is, in my mind, this is what you need. You need a large open area, like a club or some like huge area where the dance floor people can congregate.
how about
No
this place
seats.
at Izzy-Bon? This
Well, let me
yeah.
tell you, where the after hours rave for years. There's the raves that happen that will start like at 8 o'clock after the theme park closes at 7.
Yeah.
And but then there's always an after hours rave that doesn't start until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning and doesn't end until 8 a.m. And that was always at Arabian Nights. And they would literally go in every single day in the morning and cover that dirt arena dance floor. Dirt arena that the horses perform on with a dance floor and hoist up all the rigging and the lights and the lasers and everything.
Wow.
And then 3,000 gay men come in and
Dance the night away.
dance until 8. And one of the funniest stories
There's
in my
insane amount of
You-
work. They put the
Yes.
dance floor on the dirt and
yes,
I
yes,
never knew
yes.
this. This is
every
Yeah.
night.
every day.
That's
for
crazy.
4 or 5 days.
Yeah, and I bet you if you saw
Yeah.
how much money you could make doing it, you'd be down there putting
Yeah,
down
exactly.
the floor too. And you and I'd be put this floor down for these gay dudes got to be dancing on these horse legs.
Well, they don't put it down. The gay dudes put it down. The gay
Oh, they
party
do?
puts it down. Yeah, they bring everything in themselves. Same thing at Disney. There are raves that happen inside Disney theme parks.
That's so cool.
And for years, my favorite has been the one called One Mighty Party. Every year at Disney, at the time Disney MGM Studios, and they all actually close down the rides right on time. They push everyone out as quickly as possible out the front. And then the people who have tickets to the rave are actually brought in through the side at the back of the park where there's a cocktail reception first while the event producers are setting up all the lighting trusses and stuff to turn Hollywood Boulevard into an outside dance floor. And they do a second dance floor in front of the Rock and Roller Coaster, 2 separate DJs. They give Disney the techno trance house music that's popular for the day and pay them like who knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars to create the fireworks like they normally do, but to synchronize to the music that's going to speak to
Really?
the
Awesome.
circuit. I mean,
I've never heard
yes,
of this.
it's
Like,
crazy, and
hold on, no one's ever said like, "Hey, have you seen the raves that go on to Disney?"
I know.
after hours? No one's ever said it.
people don't believe it. And one of the things that they do is Disney is so aware of what's going on and so on board with the money they can make from it that it's in the contract that the event producer has to hire a company called MedEvent. And that's a company that brings doctors to these events who themselves do the drug, so they know what they're contending with, and they specialize in dealing with drug-related medical emergencies on site so that people aren't
Genius.
going to local emergency rooms for a drug-related event that can be
Yeah.
traced back to a Disney
Keep
park.
it in house. Genius.
So the Hollywood Brown Derby restaurant becomes a triage center during this event. And as I say in the play, not to give too much, but I want to make the point, no one who's just doing ecstasy requires triage. It's the people who make the ill-advised choice to mix it with cocaine or meth or G
Right.
or ketamine
Yeah,
or whatnot.
yeah.
And those are the people who end up.
I mean,
nobody's in
agreed.
the triage because, although if you come see the play, you'll find out why I ended up there.
There you go.
Well,
Give them just enough, and then I'm going to take that away.
but just going back to a
Silver
regular
venue, $15.
Yeah,
Wanzie
yeah.
with a Z, part 2, the rave years. Sell the tickets, buy the tickets.
I have
Get the
I have
button.
a show tonight at 10:15.
There you go, 10:50, but
And
you need a button.
yeah.
Don't show up without
Yeah,
a button.
get
Well,
a
Just
button.
you go online. It's Orlando Fringe, Fringe, all one word, orlandofringe.org. Just click on tickets and then look for the Wanzie with a Z, the Rave Years logo. It does say part 2. It's a standalone show. It has nothing to do with part 1. I'm just capitalizing on the title because
love
it's
it.
sold out.
Dog's blown away. He's like, really? Disney raves? Really?
Wanzie, just in your opinion, though, a rave, besides from the obvious DJ, right, or music aspect, which you have
These
to
are
have.
really good-looking people. I Sam threw some pictures of
Oh,
the
yeah.
actual event in our chat room, and the chat room is devouring the photos. And we're gonna need.
Man, it's slam packed.
Yeah, these are all attractive.
you need
these are
any-
really attractive men.
Do you need any food? Are you not hungry when you're
No,
rolling?
you don't eat. Nobody
Okay.
eats.
Nobody
no.
Stay
eats.
No.
hydrated,
No.
though.
Okay.
And
Water.
You stay hydrated. And like Disney would raise the cost of a bottle of water from at the time, like they'll charge 3 times as much for water because people aren't drinking. Most people don't drink, and I mean a lot of people do, and there are bars there, but most people are just taking water. And the issue with drinking is just that you don't feel the effects of it, and so people will keep drinking, and they drink 3 and 4 times more than they normally would because they're not feeling it because the ecstasy's overriding it. So then they get alcohol, blood poisoning. So it's just best to do water.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me. I was going through a rum phase. I love the Captain Morgan and Diet Coke. That's like you're a big fan. And I remember because I was doing it alone. I was just like doing it just to kind of chill out and listen to music. But I remember looking over to my bottle of Captain Morgan and realizing that, whoa, wow, I'm going real. You cannot feel it.
You're not
No,
gauging
you cannot feel it.
What about like lighted necklaces? Like imagine a lot of lights.
The whole point is
don't give me any cheap stuff. Though.
Right.
I want something nice.
A good party producer brings in the most amazing light and laser show you've ever seen in your life, and you can't just hire a normal disco DJ. You have to hire a DJ who is specifically gearing his music and what he's doing to the crowd, and a good circuit DJ will amp you up, ramp you up, get everybody into an absolute frenzy, then suddenly like everything goes black and the music just stops, and then just a violin comes in, and then it builds and builds and builds and builds, and an explosion, and then everyone is just, and like everyone is having the exact same experience at the exact same time. It's crazy.
It
looks like you're in.
Well, okay.
This
You
man's
familiar?
gonna leave his family and go raving.
You familiar with the movie Blade 1?
Oh, you want a blood rave?
Well,
blood
okay,
rave.
because when I watched that, I was young, and and then it builds up. The music builds, the rave builds, and Then when it hits the crescendo, the apex.
You hear like the horn of a semi or something. A train.
I've always, in my fantasy of doing ecstasy at a rave, whatever, I'm dancing, it's building up, and then at the crescendo, some sort of blood starts spraying out of all the sprinklers. It's not real blood, but it's just red.
Psychopath.
A blood
Maybe
orgy,
more like a foam party instead of blood.
I want some sort of wet to spray from the roof
Oh my God.
or the ceiling.
cool you down,
and then we're dancing, and then it's a foam or water. Have you ever been to that?
Well, one of the things that's popular and is often done, which is why these things are so expensive to go to, but I would go often to a rave that's held at Hard Rock Live, and they 3 hours into it when everyone's sweating their balls off and the air conditioner practically isn't working anymore just because there's so many bodies squeezed into the room.
Yeah,
and everyone's
creating
jumping
heat.
around. Right. They'll do some musical crazy thing, and then all of a sudden they let loose these giant CO2 canisters that just fill the entire room with ice cold fog, to the point that you can't see your hand in front of your face or see anyone else in there.
We are
And the
heterosexual
laser-
people.
and the
Boring
laser-
as hell.
and-
We are
and-
not having fun.
And then, and
we
then
can go.
you just stand there and you can't see anything. You're in this fog, and all of a sudden you're ice cold, and it feels so wonderful. And then they slowly start shooting the lasers through the fog.
Yes.
And it's just mind blowing.
So, Wanzie, let
I
me
don't
ask
want
you
to
this.
just be cold. Entertain me while I'm laser my fog, please.
I'm down with the music. I'm down with taking my shirt off.
You're down with the clown too.
okay.
We love insane clown
I-
posse.
Down with the sickness.
I'm good with being sprayed with the CO2, the ecstasy.
Yeah, he
I'll
likes
take
taking
as
his shirt off.
I'll
now.
take
Where are you
Come
at?
fight us.
I
Where
love
Yeah.
drugs. I just don't
Look at
like.
him. He's a muscle boy now, and I think you're ready. I think you're ready for a
Wait a minute,
rave.
what's the part you don't like?
Well, I'm not a dancer. I don't like.
But you like tiny shorts.
Yes,
Did you
tiny
know he's
shorts.
sponsored by Mojo Man Swimwear now?
Oh my God, are you serious?
I wish he was. I've been putting this out in the universe. I want Mojo Man. Because we
Oh
like,
my God, I'll make that happen for you.
We like tiny shorts.
Yes.
We like tiny shorts, and I know that predominantly that they are like supplying like awesome swimwear for good-looking gay dudes.
I will speak
but
to them.
we're losing weight, and we're like good-looking dads.
Not only than
we're-
that, they also now supply the vending machines in bars like Savoy, where I work,
Yeah.
where you just put your credit card in and get your poppers.
All right,
I'm down with
We have a
poppers.
Tom and Dan vending machine. We need poppers.
Yeah.
We need Mojo Man swimwear.
I'm down with all this.
yeah,
but can
all
I,
of this is great.
Can I just go to the rave and just stand there
No.
and not
gotta
Okay,
twirl.
so here's here's the thing. All right, this
You gotta
is
twirl, man.
this is how I'm going to demonstrate how
Okay.
I'm usually dancing at a rave. But there would be a pacifier in my mouth.
Okay.
Yes.
I won't do that.
sway.
That's what I do. I want to do
the
that.
swaying
And
baby.
Pretty much it.
Okay, that's what I want.
Sway
But
me.
as I say in that, can I swear on this or no?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
as I say in the show, I say, the music gets within you, and you simply cannot not get up and dance.
Okay.
For many people, this becomes an exercise in gymnastics. It's all around you. Twinks are bouncing about like so many spring-propelled tigers at a Winnie the Pooh dance-a-thon. But for people like myself, and then it's just sway back and forth, and I go, but in my mind, I think I'm busting moves like Michael Boy fucking Jackson.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go sway with you at a rave. I don't like that. You know, my
Yeah,
dancing.
you
just-
put
And
the
then
passy
you got the
in.
orb. You're doing the orb.
But you'll
joking.
so you'll be just swaying, but then you get caught up in the build, and even if it's completely against your personality type or something you wouldn't do, you will all of a sudden find yourself jumping. I mean,
Okay, I can jump. I can do.
Yeah,
I
not
can
a
do-
good jumper.
I can do a sway into a little jump.
Yeah. Yeah, sway.
I can do that.
You're
All
swaying,
that's-
I'm little jump.
Yeah, you know, I'm down for this.
And the coolest thing about it is that it's just everywhere you look, anyone who meets your eye, you get back this acknowledgement of a shared experience. And so at the rave, yes, the majority of them are good-looking, svelte people who live to dance, who work out every day and don't eat any carbs. But then in the middle of them are people like me, and everybody smiles at you. Everyone is glad you're there. You have this mix of gay and straight people.
Yeah.
A lot of straight couples come to the gay raves because the man is comfortable that his wife isn't going to be hit on, and they just know that nobody does it better than gay people as far as the music and the sensory and the lights and everything. So
Yeah.
So everyone comes, everyone's welcome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, the gays throw the best parties. I mean, everybody knows that. Like, I
And
want to
there's
go to
also-
way more
well,
gay parties.
And I'll add one more little stereotype on there. There's also a level of respect that I've always been treated with at any gay establishment that I've been in,
Right.
as a guest in like their space. That's always been a little higher than most. You know,
Right,
like it's
yeah.
always a little
Right.
more respectful, a little nicer, a little like you're not gonna feel weird.
Yeah, cleaner, you know,
Yeah,
safer.
it really, I know
it
that's.
is,
I know
true.
people will be like, yes, that is just the facts.
Yeah.
Sorry, you need to try harder.
Well, Wanzie, good
We
luck
love
with
you,
the
man.
shows.
This sounds awesome.
You you have to come in more often too, just to tell us some stories. We'll do
sure.
an uncensored show.
Yeah, Sam,
But
let's-
in closing, can I just remind
Please,
people
please do whatever you need to
that
do.
if you're familiar with what the Fringe Festival is, it is an annual theater festival, and it is 2 weeks of 100 shows from around the world, and they are all happening simultaneously in 12 different theaters at the same time, most of them within walking distance of each other around Lockhaven Park, where the Science Center and the
Yep.
Museum of Art is. And then there's some downtown, the Abbey, Stardust, Savoy, whatever. Anyway, 12 theaters operating simultaneously during the week from about 5 to midnight, on the weekend from 11 in the morning until 1 in the morning. And you just run from show to show to show. In between, there are food trucks and a beer tent and a wine dispensary and whatnot. And it's 100 shows from around. We have shows here right now from Japan, from Australia, from the UK, from Canada, and all over America. It's not just local people. All the shows are mostly about an hour long, and you don't know what you're going to see. It's potluck. It's uncensored, unjuried, so it's 100% for the artist. 100% of the ticket money goes back to the artist, which is good.
Yeah.
So
When
again,
you spend that money, it's
yeah.
important to know that
Yeah.
too. A lot of people, this money,
Yeah.
like when you go and see Wanzie's stories, he benefits from
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
which
And
is a good
right.
thing.
And the festival itself is a nonprofit organization. Nobody's trying to make a profit off of it. It's all about funding the artists. So that's OrlandoFringe.org for all your information. And my show is Wanzie with a Z, Part 2, The Rave Ears.
Yeah, and you could see it at the Silver venue. Sam reminded us that, yes, when you're getting your tickets, there are buttons you can buy right there.
Yep.
You don't need to go to multiple places.
Right.
They make it very, very
You can
easy.
buy it online
Yep.
before you show up too.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I always like to do that. See we have everything squared away. But
And when are we live right now?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay, so tonight at 10:15 I have a show which is like my suckiest time of the whole festival at 10:15 on a Monday night. So if you're the type of person who sleeps in, then come out tonight and join the party.
Yeah, that would be a good one
Awesome.
to hit up.
Well, Wanzie, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you
in,
for
man.
having me.
And again, we got to get you in just to tell some stories.
I'm game.
Yeah. And, maybe we just all sit around and do ecstasy.
Yeah.
there you are.
Ecstasy cast.
Well,
Well,
Ecstasy
we're just
cast.
sitting. That's what I'm saying. Like, can you do it and just go to work? Like, will it make work better?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I've
It makes
never-
everything better.
I've
Yeah,
never
okay,
done
well-
it here. Normally, I'm just sneaking drinks here because of my alcoholism.
Well, why don't you just do it every day?
The
Wake up.
issue is that the effects of it come in waves. That's why they call it rolling.
Nah,
So you come up and then you go down and you have some quite introspective moments and then you're all frenetic again, and so you don't really control where the roll takes you.
What do
So
you think? Is
not,
that for you?
Not advisable to do it at work if you're like assembling like warheads or.
Most people's job.
maybe
they do nothing.
maybe on a radio show.
And it is warhead season. I mean, there are people making them. I mean, that's a thing.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Corporate Time.